How about Georgia? After Tennessee came out with such an odd start, they were dominating the game. They put up 21 points in the first quarter. In the end, it took overtime, but Georgia goes on the road very impressively and knocks off Tennessee.
So Georgia came into this game having won 8 straight against Tennessee, and fans were thinking, okay, this is finally the year the Volunteers are going to beat Georgia. Joey Aguilar, comes in basically after trading spots with Nico Imalaviava, because Nico is off to UCLA, and that's where Joey Aguilar was going to go.
And Nico's having a terrible season, and UCLA just fired their coach.
Yes, after losing to New Mexico. Why is UCLA in the Big Ten? Why? They don't need to be. But I think it's because USC is in the Big Ten, so they had to join.
There you go. There's your reason.
But, Gunnar Stockton, I think that's how you say Georgia's quarterback.
I believe so, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Georgia did not have a passing touchdown coming into this game against Tennessee. I could be wrong, but I think I read that stat right.
Well, also, Georgia decided in the second half, we don't need to throw. We're just going to run the ball right down Tennessee's throat, and that flipped the game.
Yeah.
They came out in the second half. They had, 10 out of 11 plays were run plays?
Yeah, and Kirby Smart, since he's gotten to Georgia, or since Josh Heupel has gotten to Tennessee, rather, Kirby Smart is 5-0 against Tennessee now.
Once Nick Saban started, not recruiting as much at Alabama, and Kirby Smart started to take over. And once Kirby Smart got some players, Georgia obviously took off. I used to call Kirby Smart Kirby dumb.
Yeah, but I think the reason Georgia under Kirby Smart is 5-0 against Josh Heupel in Tennessee now is because Heupel doesn't really play like a big physical style at Tennessee. It's more of a fast-paced, passing-heavy style. And
yeah, I agree 100%. Tennessee does not run the football enough, and Georgia is weird, though. They get off to these slow starts, and you're thinking, oh my God, is it going to happen to Georgia and Clemson, who we'll get to here in a minute, in the same day? But Georgia keeps giving body blow. And by the end of the game, even though it went to overtime and Tennessee had that great comeback and they got the score to send it to overtime, Georgia completely controlled the second half.
Yeah, Georgia, you can't count them out. They've won, 2 or 3 national championships.
Remember the game last year against Alabama? We all thought it was over. What was it, 31-7 at halftime?
Something like that, yeah.
And it ended up being either an overtime game or down to the last second. Ryan Williams makes an incredible catch for Alabama off the throw of Milroe.
Yeah. So Gunnar Stockton in that game, he completed 23 of 31, 304 yards. He had 2 touchdowns passing. And he actually ran the ball 13 times for 38 yards, and he had a touchdown running.
Yeah.
So, whereas, like I said, Joey Aguilar, 24 of 36, 371 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's one of the key differences because Gunnar Stockton did not have any interceptions.
100%. And I also felt like when Tennessee threw that first punch and they got up so quickly early, they thought Georgia was going to weigh down, to your point, and they didn't know how to counter back. They didn't know how to respond.
No, they didn't. By the way, we were going to not talk about this game, but I'll go ahead and talk about it anyway.
Go ahead.
So last year, Notre Dame went into Kyle Field and they defeated Texas A&M 23-13. College Game Day was there. So this year they did the second half of the home and home set, but this time it was in Notre Dame And Texas A&M was able to go on the road and pick up a pretty key victory, which, here's my thing. Notre Dame is 0-2. How are they still ranked in the top 25?
Because they're Notre Dame.
I don't get it with them. But my bigger thing is, like, maybe Texas A&M is a bigger factor in the SEC than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, are they maybe right there with Texas and Georgia? Maybe they're with the Bamas and Tennessees for that third team?
Maybe. But Texas A&M barely won that game. It was 41-40.
Yeah, but they won it on the road. I mean, it was a game-winning touchdown, but still, to go into Notre Dame, where Notre Dame barely ever loses at home when they have a good squad, in prime time, in South Bend, that was impressive.
Yes. I have no idea what CJ Carr was doing on that late interception, though.
No clue.
Yeah, that was a bad play. But you want to talk about crazy games and crazy finishes. Georgia Tech, how do they do this? Like,
because Clemson is not that good. I told you this before the year. I think our counter, I think his name was Lou or something, said Clemson was not that good going into the year. I never was a believer in Kate Klubnik. I never was a believer in Dabo Sweeney. I said I didn't think Clemson deserved to be in the college football playoff last year. Clemson refuses to use the transfer portal. They're in a weak ACC where their biggest competition outside of Miami, Florida is Bill Belichick, who's never coached a college game in his life till this year. That's how they lost, because Clemson's a joke and they don't face real good teams. And Kate Klubnik is not a real NFL quarterback.
But for Georgia Tech to pull that off with no timeouts, clock running down, and basically pull off a fire drill and get their kicker in position, all credit to the Yellow Jackets. Like,
absolutely. No, Georgia Tech won that game. They were the better football team, I thought, on Saturday.
Georgia Tech, maybe they're legit. Like, we were talking about Clemson and Miami being the two top dogs in the ACC. Clearly, Florida State is there. Miami's there. But maybe Georgia Tech is that third team, honestly.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, if this game was played in Death Valley, maybe it's a different result. Because that's the other thing about Clemson, right? They never play well on the road, it feels like.
Yeah. By the way, why is College Game Day going to Florida at Miami? Florida just got lost back-to-back games against USF and LSU. Indiana at Illinois, or I'm sorry, I have it backwards. It's Illinois at Indiana. That was the much better option.
Well, because that game is on NBC. Are they allowed to go to a game that's on NBC?
Yeah. Couple years ago, they did Ohio State at Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Game day was there because it was a night game.
Even though it was on CBS or NBC. Last year, they were at Ohio State at Oregon, and that game was on NBC.
Okay, so yeah, you're right. I don't know why. By the way, I do feel bad for Florida. That is a tough scheduling break. They have to go to LSU and then to Miami back-to-back weeks.
Yep. But I mean, normally I say College Game Day is the better show than Big Noon Kickoff, because I just like Desmond Howard, Nick Saban, Pat McAfee, Kirk Herbstreit, and Lee Corso when he was there. I really liked that crew. Compared to Brady Quinn, Matt Leinart, Dave Portnoy, no. Mark Ingram. But they've got the better game this week because they're going to be at Texas Tech against Utah, which is number 17 against number 18.
Yeah, that does nothing for me. The Big 12 does nothing for me.
No, I understand that. But, Illinois against Indiana in Bloomington is number 9 against number 19. But you're going to unranked Florida at Miami. Which I get it. Miami is number 5 in the country, but still, why? No.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't think it matters. There is zero college football game that excites me this weekend. Zero.
Really? I'm very interested. There's 2 that really interest. Well, 3. That Texas Tech Utah game, and then Auburn Oklahoma, because it's number 22 against number 11. Then I really like this Michigan at Nebraska game. And then the other big one that interests me is, I already talked about it, Illinois at Indiana. If Illinois wins this game, after that, they've got USC at home. Then they're at Purdue. And if they win Indiana, USC, and Purdue, guess who's waiting for them?
That's their test. They should win those 3 games if they're as good as people think. I don't believe they are, but that's when I'm waiting for Illinois, is when they host Ohio State.
Yes.
That's when we'll find out if Illinois is any good.
If Illinois wins all 3 of those games and Ohio State stays undefeated, which I expect them to be,
yes,
College Game Day should be in Champaign, Illinois for that game.
Would not be surprised if, again, I know based on the broadcasting rights, I don't know who gets first dibs. That will either be a big noon game, a 3:30 CBS game, which they already announced Ohio State Washington is going to be, or an NBC Saturday night game. Yes. One of the 3.
So before the Illinois game, Ohio State will be at Washington, and they host Minnesota.
So they will be undefeated. They will be 5-0.
Yes. Oh, that Illinois game starts a tricky 3-game stretch for Ohio State, because they play at Illinois, at Wisconsin, and then they host Penn State.
Ooh, you're not wrong there, because, I mean, I know Wisconsin got blown out by Bama on Saturday, but going to Wisconsin, we talked about this last week, that has always been a place where, yeah, Ohio State wins, but it's not easy.
No. I do think they have a bye week between that Wisconsin and Penn State game.
They do. You're right on that.
Which, I think that's an advantage.
Here's the thing I don't get, okay? It goes back to the college football schedule thing. Why in college football, if the NFL, I know with the 18-game schedule, they're going to go to 2 byes, it sounds like. But why in college football do these guys play 12 weeks and get 2 byes?
Notre Dame got a freaking bye week in week 2.
Yeah, I don't get it. Speaking of what I don't get, can we talk about the struggles of Arch Manning? Because this was bad. I know they beat
food.
I know they beat UTEP, but he was 11 of 27 passing. I think for 170 yards or something like that. I told you after going into the Ohio State game week 1, I sat down and thought about it, and I was like, you know what? When he got the start last year in place of Quinn Ewers, he was decent. He had his moments. But then they went back to Quinn Ewers, who barely could make the cut as the Dolphins' backup quarterback. And it's like, why? And then you watch Arch Manning, and it's like, okay, week 1 on the road against Ohio State. It's his first ever road start in college. He was bad, but let's chop it up. He's going to get better. They have these cupcakes coming at home. And then he's struggling to move the ball. He's got a 55% completion percentage on the season in college. I'm sorry, your guy, Drew Adler. There are other quarterbacks that we can talk about. Right now, there was all this hype about, oh my God, Arch Manning is the next generational prospect. Arch Manning don't even look like a first-round pick right now.
No. And they've got Sam Houston State this week. And then
Sam Houston State?
Yes. And then they're at Florida. They're not going to get tested again until October 11th when they play Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry.
Is that a neutral site game?
Yeah, they always do that game, neutral site at the Cotton Bowl at the Texas State Fair.
Okay, why did I think it was at AT&T Stadium?
No, it is always at the Texas State Fair at the Cotton Bowl.
So again, we'll see how Arch plays in that game. But I'm sorry, right now, we could talk about Nussmeier, the LSU quarterback. We could talk about Julian Sagan, the Ohio State quarterback. We could talk about Georgia's guy who we talked about, Gunnar Stockton.
Joey Aguilar at Tennessee.
There's so many more guys we can talk about more than Arch Manning. Even the kid from Oklahoma.
Yeah.